Grand evening. True Brit, MAGA, True Brit News rather, MAGA, Make Albion Great Again. Today, or this evening, I want to talk about, I'm going to be talking about WASP. If anyone has any access to my Facebook account, you would have seen me mentioning that term, WASP, and messing around with the P actually. So it's White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. That's what WASP means. Today, and I've been talking about the White Anglo-Saxon paedophile. I've been talking about the White Anglo-Saxon ponce. I've been talking about the White Anglo-Saxon predator, the White Anglo-Saxon parasite. Today, I want to talk about the White Anglo-Saxon Pakistani supporter. So it's WASPs. Right. White Anglo-Saxon Pakistani supporter. Yeah, that's right. I said it. Because it's become quite apparent to me that the only way that these Pakistani Muslim men or gangs or whatever the term is, I can't even remember what the term is. There's been so many, but the emphasis on the Pakistani and Muslim and Islam, that's the thing that's been being pushed down. And I've been wondering about that for quite some time, actually. Just to say that every time there's a crisis, political crisis or a financial crisis or any kind of crisis, immigration always comes to the fore. Crisis, or there's an election, or there's a football match. I mentioned this in some other posts, but I want to talk about, as I say, the White Anglo-Saxon Pakistani supporter as my WASP today. What do I mean by that? Well, it's becoming quite apparent these gangs that have been running around doing their thing for as long as there have been inquiries into the abuse, sexual abuse and trafficking of children. You know, I can go back as far as Colombier, and there was an inquiry around her death. There was inquiries around the Bulgars and many others going back over time. None of which the recommendations from these inquiries have come to any fruition, you know, or none of the outcomes and suggestions that have been made in these inquiries, none of them have been implemented. But now we're talking about having another one, another inquiry. I say no to any more inquiries, not before the government implements the recommendations that have been made in the previous ones. Because every time there's an inquiry, it seems as though there's a lot of chitter chatter. There's lots of recommendations, and then we just move on. No more. Okay? And I think the only reason why this particular this issue is gaining any traction in regards to an inquiry is because of the fact that it's Pakistani men up in Rotherham. Now, I think I might have said this in a previous previous post. In my view, that there's no way on God's green earth that these Pakistani men could have done what it is that they have done to these white girls without help. See? And support. Now it's turning out that the Labour Party's fingerprints, or the Labour Party's support for these men, I'm not going to talk about the community, it's about these men, has been supported by local authorities, the police, in the respective areas. And apparently there are 50, last time I looked, there were 50 uh, uh, councils or areas across the UK that have got this problem. It's almost as though it seems as though there's a web. I was talking about GB News in the last one, sort of, because GB News keeps banging on about it. And actually, I have to say this week, not so much. Isn't that interesting? Yeah? I find that they're not talking about it so much because whilst the focus was on Pakistani men, it wasn't on anybody else. Any other communities, that's the focus. I think the lady does protest too much, is what I would say to that, because now they want to talk about it again, because now people are able to see the social workers involved in this, in the cover-up, if you will. Politicians, yes. Lawyers, yes. What's some of the other group of people? Social workers mentioned, healthcare professionals, NHS, at every level. And furthermore, I understand that it's about votes. It's about Labour Party not wanting to upset the Pakistani community because of the votes that are likely to be had from that community, actually, that helps to keep Labour in power. Okay? I'm going to suggest also that it goes a little bit deeper than that, in that, because when you look at the history of the Labour Party, I'm just going to say, I don't know if Heath, Wilson, I don't know, Heath might not have been Labour actually, but it might have been. I'm not too sure if Wilson was either. But what I'm trying to indicate is that it's been going on it's been going on across all communities, but mainly the English one, or the WASP, as in the White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, because 83% of all child gang related rapes and things like that, 83% of them are done by, I'm not going to say the indigenous, but by WASPs, White Anglo-Saxon Protestants. And I believe that the Pakistani community, or those Pakistani men, have been thrown under the bus by White Anglo-Saxon predators to hide White Anglo-Saxon predatory behaviour. Doing this forever. How do I know? What makes me say this? Well, first of all, being a clinical supervisor and a psychotherapist, I have heard these stories over a long period of time. The ways in which people have been groomed within their family networks. It's been going, and through things like the church, Girl Scouts, Girl Scouts, Girl Guides, Scouts, and that other thing, I can't remember what it's called. Brownies and all that kind of stuff. In your academies, in your, what do you call them? Anyway, it's been going along. It's been going on a long time within the White Anglo-Saxon Protestant community, and they've allowed the Pakistani community, or Pakistani men, to be specific, to do what it is that to do their grooming thing and abuse children. Probably as long as they've been in this country, and maybe even before. Kemi Badenoch seems to be suggesting that that it goes back to these communities, Pakistani community, being in a rural environment in their home country. This is Kemi Bennett. I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with it, but I will say that that cultural dynamic, that way of viewing women and children, is not. It parallels that of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant community. And I don't know which way, who taught who to do it, if that makes sense. But the fact that the matter, it's, for me, it's the same group of people. These white Anglo-Saxon Pakistani supporters believe are okay with that kind of behaviour. Otherwise, you wouldn't support it at any level, political, in terms of the local authorities, 50 local authorities, and for the police to allow a network to be created across the country, it appears. I'm not saying that that is so, but there's sorts of research to suggest that that's what is so. There are lots of these gangs talk to each other across different parts of the country. So they've got, there's networks set up in towns, Telford, Nottingham, Derby, wherever it might be, and they're all talking to each other. Now, we have this thing called intelligence that the police operate on. And I'm coming to understand that, they've been given instructions in some of these areas, Oldham, Rotherham, not to arrest the perps in these situations, but to arrest the children. Now, I believe that too, but I'm not letting the police off the hook because, they're here to serve the community. They're here to serve the people. I know they don't, and I know that's what their intention is. That's what the general public's perception and understanding, that's what they're there to do. But actually, they're not actually. They're there to serve the interests of of business, essentially, and corporations. And in this instance, the corporations are local authorities because they're all registered at Companies House, alongside what's that thing called? Reform Party. Everybody's been banging on about how the Reform Party's registered at Companies House and it's a business. So's the Tory Party. So's the Labour Party too. They're registered at Companies House and they're a money-making operation, just in the same way as Reform is. So there's no difference between all four parties. I'm not going to say anything about the monster raving loony party because I don't know. But it seems as though there's no way that these atrocities can be committed without the support of government and government agencies, and also private run organisations, and some companies too. Register. What's the thing called? Oh, charities, charitable organisations. Yeah, they're all up in it too. Institutions, educational institutions, they're up in it too. They're involved in this grooming then of children. And grooming them for exploitation, to be exploited. Yeah, by Pakistani men, but also by white men, white Anglo-Saxon men. And I'm going to say, yes, there's probably some. The reason why there's people from the Caribbean or that are indigenous and organic to these to these islands, actually. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's no if about it, as I say, you can't have these operations without senior police officers, senior police executives knowing about this and passing on instructions from to the constables on the ground. So where are they getting their instructions from? They must be getting them from either within the city council or at a high level, at chief exec level, or higher outside, from Westminster. Stands to reason, because they're the ones that make the policy and what I mean, and come up with the rationale for why it is they're not done what it is that they needed to do, or come up with excuses for why they've not wanted to do what they should have done, and then blaming it on, or saying rather, we'll talk about blame yet, saying that the reason why they've covered it up and not spoken the truth about the nature and the culture and the ethnicity of these perpetrators is because they didn't want to raise racial tensions. I think that's a scam. I think that's an excuse that they always use to do or not to do something. No, let me just rephrase that. To speak truth, to speak about the truth and let people know what's really going on, who's been really involved, and on why it is that there are actual failings, rather than address the failings, rather than address the morality, because nobody's talking about the morality of these actions. We're a nation, it seems, in which we're okay with pouncing our children, with becoming predators for our children and our women as well, actually. We don't mind being parasitic towards our children, exploiting those children. And that is the issue. There's a disease here, It's taken this long. Well, when I say this long, I remember a couple of years back, there was a film that came out by Jim Caviezel, and we was talking about the trafficking of children 2 years ago. The film was not widely received. It wasn't, but it was well, publicised. If people wanted to know, they would know. So it was publicised, and it was on at certain cinemas. I think it was on at the Broadway in Nottingham, and a few other places as well. Okay, it was only on for a couple of nights, and that was it. I know one person that went. I know quite a few people that have seen the film. I know many, 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 many more people that didn't want to have anything to do with the film. But those that went to see the film, they didn't talk about the content of the film. They were talking about who made the film and who they're aligned with and where's the money come from and blah, blah, blah. Disney was involved in it and they shoved it. You know what I mean? They weren't interested in the content. They weren't interested in the trafficking. And people were sort of minimizing the content of what the film was about, saying, well, it's something that those other people do. This notion of trafficking and exploitation of children, it's them other cultures that do it. Knowing, and this was about 3 years ago, actually, the film came out, and I thought that was very, very odd at the time. I thought it was very, very odd. 18 minutes, a bit longer than I would have liked. I'm going to put some information up here. But the implication for all of this, people hide this furore about child abuse. It's something that is endemic, systemic, and not by accident that it occurs in this country on a regular basis and has done since. You see, you've got to remember, Andrew, the royal family is okay with it, if that makes sense, because you can tell that by the way that they responded to Andrew. And the way that the press responds to Andrew doing these kinds of things, and how the press responds to when these things kind of happen anyway. They help to forward the agenda. It's a little bit like the old pandemic thing. They're all in on it. And I think that's why one of the not only all that what I'm talking about is the establishment, but you have a lot of people that want to be part of the establishment. So do you see where I'm going? In whatever way, either it be film, television, politics. The amount of people that I know recently that are either aiming towards or have obtained an OBE or a CBE. The amount of people at the moment that all of a sudden want to get into politics and actually want to go into, some melanated people actually that I know, I want to become involved with the Labour Party. Oh, really? Oh, really? You need to be mindful what it is and who it is that you're associating with. As I say, endemic, systemic abuse. And it's also, just to say this very quickly, 20 minutes, I believe, I can see that it's an attitude. There's not a lot of difference in my view. Actually, just in terms of appearance, there's not a lot of difference between the Anglo-Saxon Protestant and the white Anglo-Saxon Pakistani supporter. Absolutely, and there's not a lot in terms of attitude. It's the same as far as I'm concerned. You're not. I won't be fooled. I'm not. I'm not going to be fooled by it. Behind closed doors, I'm not saying all of the Muslim community. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. But principally, in terms of Islam, it's okay. Muhammad, I'm not showing any disrespect, because I could say the same thing about Mary and Joseph. Joseph was like 30-odd-year-old man, been in his second marriage, got a couple of kids already, and he's dating a 14-year-old bird, waiting for three kings to come along and give him some gold, frankincense, and myrrh. It's what's that other one? You want a Shakespeare's film? Same thing. Older fella, younger child. Older fella with a child. Yeah, you got statues of it at the BBC. Older fella, child, under his skirt. You got a whole church full of it. And if you get found out, you don't get sent to the police or anything like that. You get moved on to go and do it to someone else. In fact, to sometimes go to another country and do it to those children, to the children in that country. That's what the church does. That's what it's been involved in. On the surface, it's talking all this spiritual stuff, but that's the me being Zen. But so, and I don't care if you do think it's wanker, because that's what they are. And when they can't themselves off, they go for the kids. And you've set up whole systems, whole structures to facilitate the abuse and trafficking and grooming of children. It's everywhere. And people are literally groomed into it from cradle to grave, to support it, to enable it. So I don't know how. I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic. In my years of social work, even as a therapist, I'm not confident that people understand that it's not okay. Till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. I'm gone. I want to turn it into some news as well, actually, because that's what's going on the land. To be true Brit, means you can't do this. You can't treat children like this. It is better. What does it say in the Bible about children? It's better to do something, drown yourself and set fire to yourself, and I don't know, throw yourself, than to hurt the hair on a child's head. That's it. We've got no qualms about banging them up, locking them up, abusing them, putting them in children's homes, fostering and adoption, and creating the situations where you need a fostering and adoption service. I've got to be honest, I just see it as a trafficking operation, you know, a means of taking other people's children off another one group of people and passing them around for various reasons to other adults. You know, on the surface, you know, I can't have kids, so I'd like to adopt. I'd like to give something back. When you're giving something back, seems to suggest that you've taken something. So this country is in a pickle. Just to say this as well, just to bring it together a little bit, the United Kingdom is not a country. It's a corporation. So these people are doing business. And part of that business is grooming children. And it's not by accident. One need to ask yourself this question. Okay, right. This is particularly during the 1400s, I think it was the first time you saw a group of people moving. That was when the Punjabi Sikhs moved into the area that is called India now. But those people originally came from the northeast of where India is. So we're talking about Afghanistan, up towards the Caucasus Mountains, that region. That's where these people come from. Genghis Khan, the relatives of Genghis Khan, and I think it's the Huns coming together, created this group of people that we now call Punjabi Sikhs or contemporary Hindus. In India, the original inhabitants of India were called Dravidians. Yeah, the original, and those Dravidians were dark-skinned people that now have become the untouchables. Okay, look like me, got big effort. Anyway, you know what I mean. So those people that we see on the TV, same thing with China. The organic people of China don't look like the people that we see on the TV right now. Okay, just in the same way, the people that are calling themselves English or British aren't the organic original British people. They didn't look like the ones that we see now that we see on the BBC. Sorry to tell you. So, and it's in that regard that, because what precipitated this really was Elon Musk talking to Farage and offering Farage some money and making a comment about Tommy Robinson. Okay, I mentioned this before, but you need to listen to what it is that Elon's got to say about. I mean, he's talking about religion primarily, but he knows who I am and said so. But what it is that Elon is talking about, alongside Trump, alongside QE2, Elizabeth II, she said it too, alongside the Pope, alongside Putin, alongside I think the French and the German ministers have declared that they are seeking to return to worshipping Black Jesus. No, I didn't say it. I didn't. You know what I mean? And I'm not a Christian either. Not in the contemporary sense. So people have known what it is that they're doing. So I've lost my train of thought there. So I'm going to leave it there. All this information is coming out. So that's right. So everybody knows what it is that they've been. What's what, and that these Pakistani men share an affinity with the white Anglo-Saxon male predator or Protestant or whatever it is in the UK. There's an affinity between the two groups. They know exactly what's been going on, but one's decided to throw the other under the bus for whatever reasons. I did hear that the Pakistani community feels as though it doesn't need the Labour Party anymore. So it's gone off and done its own thing. And that's why they're grassing on the people that have been enabling them to do some of the things that they've been able to do. And here we are, the survivors and the descendants of the windrush transportations sitting there watching this shit go down, right? And these people who are claiming to be spiritual and all-knowing and creative and fit to rule, um, know very well what it is that they've been doing, and that they are, what's the word I'm looking for? They are belligerent occupiers, spreading doing something that is literally alien to the organic people of the planet, but also of these islands. I'm going to be saying a little bit more about that. 30 minutes, I didn't really want to do that, but there we go. Till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. I'm gone.